The Yaesu FT-817 is a great little rig. It's easy to take portable, set up in all kinds of situations, but a lot of people will tell you can't use one in a contest. Well, here's the deal of the FT-817. It is designed to be a high sensitivity rig to make the most out of a small antenna. What happens if you put a half-decent antenna system on it? Well, then the front end gets overloaded. I'm going to show you how you can configure an FT-817 as it comes out of the box, no additional filters, so that it actually has a chance to compete in contest-like settings. Let's take a look. We need to access the function menu on the radio. That's what this F button is up at the top. If I press that and release it, like literally one press and release, it takes me into a secondary menu. There are actually two levels of menus on the FT-817, and in my estimation, don't let people who complain about menus on this radio sway you away from trying the radio. I think it's a terrific radio, and it's just the menus are part of what it is. There are two sets of menus. One set is accessed simply by touching, as I just did. I'm going to just touch it again, which is going to clear the menu. But if I push and hold, I'm actually taken into a secondary menu. So we've got two different degrees of menus. The push and hold menu is typically the type of setting that you wouldn't make very often. So here you can see I'm on setting number 45. This is menu selection number 45. And what that does is it switches this control over. There are two controls on the far right-hand side on the bottom here, and they're concentric. So there is an outer knob, the inner center knob is your volume, but there's an inner knob. And that inner knob, the function of it, you can see that it's labeled on the front panel SQL/RF, which means that it's switchable between a squelch control or an RF gain control. For portable applications like this, squelch is probably of minimal use. So we want to make sure that with this menu setting, it is switched over to RF gain. This will help us in our quest to maybe desensitize the receiver a little bit so it's not as easily overloaded. So it's set to RF gain. Now it took me pressing this button for approximately 1 second to get into the menu. I have to do the same again to get out of it. And there I am, I'm back to my regular display. So this has been set up for RF gain, this little control in the back here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the function button once, and there are a number of different selections, but the one I'm interested in right now is the one that shows over the A key an IPO indicator, and over the B key an attenuator, ATT. What I want to do is I want to engage the IPO, which basically means I am turning off the RF preamplifier, which gives an additional level of amplification to everything coming in. Now that's a little counterintuitive to understand, but what I have done is I have essentially turned off the preamplifier by turning on the IPO. IPO stands for, in Yaesu terminology, intercept point optimization. But what it really means is we're turning off the RF preamp and making the receiver a little less sensitive. The next button over is for ATT, or attenuation. And what we want to do is we want to make the radio even a little less sensitive. Even though we've turned this off, we still want to ratchet it down a bit because the bands are so heavy with signals. So I hit the B button, the little arrow comes up next to attenuation, and you can hear right away that the background noise dropped a bit. I'm just going to go over and turn up the volume here. And now that I've got that set, by the way, I can now, without having to push the function button once, I can go back to the A button, hit it again, and it toggles the IPO on and off. So the IPO is off, you can hear the noise level increase. On, the noise level decreases. Same with the attenuator. Off, noise level increases. Attenuator, noise level decreases. Now what I'd like to do is just show you what the band sounds like with both of those disengaged. So this is what you would normally hear, and it's a racket. Now, if there is another station close by, it could make it very difficult for me to understand and make a contact with this particular station here. So now what I'd like to do is turn off the preamp, turn on the attenuator. I can still hear the desired station very well. But now what I've done is I've minimized the chance that a neighboring station on a nearby frequency is going to interfere with my reception. If I need to make the radio even less sensitive due to a strong station after doing these steps, I can now use the RF gain control to turn back the RF gain, and many people swear by turning the volume way up and then using the RF gain as a volume control. So that is how you use an FT-817 in a situation where you've got a good antenna and a lot of stations in a compact area, and you got to try to hear one through the rest.